Hey you guys, my name is Najwa. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I would love to invite you to join our little community. Go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, hit that bell so you know whenever I post a video. Support this channel, help us grow by donating a super thanks. You can also donate through Patreon. It's patreon.com/itstherealnajwa. You can also join as a YouTube member here on YouTube Premium. You can join as a YouTube member on my channel, my premium membership on YouTube. You can also just sort of click that bell. If you click that bell, you know whenever I post a video. I want to talk to you right now about why it's so imperative, if you want to save American democracy, to vote blue in 2024, Biden-Harris in 2024. And I'm going to make my arguments for why I think that is the best choice as a centrist. I don't really fall Republican or Democrat, so I think that I can provide my sort of 2 cents, and while I don't claim to speak for every person, I think that it could be something valuable. I really wanted to start this video off with saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I know some of you guys out there are going to be like, say the Pledge of Allegiance? What, Najwa? I don't know if they still say it in school now. It was definitely a part of my everyday life growing up in America, growing up in Atlanta, where we had to say the Pledge of Allegiance every single day. And I'm not sure if they do it in school anymore, but my best bet would be that they don't. I would think that in most schools they probably don't really do it most of the time. And I honestly think maybe they should. Let us just go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance before I get caught off on a tangent. But ultimately, we are letting culture wars divide us. And I think we have forgotten America in all of this. And something that I had noticed was that I didn't remember the Pledge of Allegiance. I literally had to say it every day for 10 years, for a decade. I had to say the Pledge of Allegiance every single day. In high school, I went to an arts-based high school, and I think it was dropped. I don't remember saying it every day. But we possibly did, but I don't think we stood up. I mean, in elementary school, you had to stand up, you had to put your hand on your chest and all that stuff. So it was definitely a thing. But the Pledge of Allegiance, I woke up this morning and I thought, that solidifies everything that we need to know, and it's got the answers in it. Let's say this together. And as I say it, it might spark your memory and you might remember better. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let me just say that last line one more time. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One more time. Indivisible, meaning we should be united. With liberty, meaning we should be free. And justice, meaning when crimes are committed against us, justice should happen for all. There are very real threats out there, guys, and we can either fall prey to those threats divided, or we can fall prey to those threats as one united front. That's what makes America, And to be so selfish to throw American democracy, whatever a Republican candidate is going to be, even if it's Christie, for example, the Republican Party is broken and fractured. It is going to bring on 1938 Germany. Okay? That's basically what's going to happen, and I don't have to remind you how many people died between 1933 and 1945. So, I don't think we want that, and I think that those wars that are raging on in Israel and Ukraine If we don't want those to bleed over into the United States and to start losing thousands of Americans, it's time to get our act right and come together. It's time to do what we did in gym and be able to be our individual selves and still have love for my sister and my brother over there. Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As long as you are not hurting anyone, as long as you are not committing crimes, you should be free to be who you are and have other people accept that. Okay? Hate crimes, gerrymandering, transphobia, don't say gay, talking about the benefits of slavery, hate crimes with mass shootings in minority marginalized areas, school shootings, tax fraud, voter suppression. That just doesn't read to me the America that I grew up in. Those things were happening. Corruption always happens, but it was not the tenet of an entire bipartisan party. So those come back to those things about fiscal responsibility. It's not fiscally responsible to take all the money out of the IRS and put it into the war in Ukraine so that the millionaire and billionaire class can evade their taxes. That's not fiscal responsibility. So the Republican Party, getting back to fiscal responsibility, to economic conservativeship, to advocating for a small government, for state government, those are all tenets. A strong military, those are all tenets that I'm for. That's good. Less interaction with foreign trade, okay, and bringing more of the jobs home. That's something that I can get with. But telling people that they can or cannot have an abortion, like telling people that they can't say the word period or they can't say the word gay in a classroom, not giving kids education about, the way that their body changes in health education, getting rid of public schools that people of all races, all ethnicities, all kinds of average Americans rely on, getting rid of cops, getting rid of prosecutors, getting rid of judges, so that when bad people hurt us, that they can be held accountable and that society can become safer. Getting rid of our government that's been in place since 1776, getting rid of the Constitution. That's not something that the Republican Party is. That's something that a billionaire class and a millionaire class and some of their puppets who are trying to pay off people to basically do their bidding for them, that's what they want. But that's not what America wants, and it's not what's good for America or the tons of countries that depend on us being a united front economically and socially. And right now, on the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, which is like 90% of the Republican Party, that's all that we see. So you have two choices. You have the choice of where thousands and thousands and thousands of people that you've grown up alongside, people who are like you, who have blood like you, who have children and a mother and a dad like you, who are going to basically be unalived at some point because America will become a fascist state. You have the choice between that, or you have the choice between Biden Harris and letting America's Republican Party repair itself. Okay? There is no argument. There is no argument. You cannot hand it over to a mob boss. So, beyond the social issue of, the risk of America becoming fascist Germany held under Adolf Hitler, buildings just being dilapidated and crushed by tanks, people afraid to speak out about any little thing. Yeah, we don't want that. But beyond that issue, because that's what it will be, whether you buy it or not, that's what it will be. Young people, you have the ability to change that. You can change that outcome. You can make sure that right there doesn't happen by voting blue in 2024, Biden Harris, if you aren't yet registered to vote, go on vote.gov. Okay, you can register there. Vote.gov, and you can also go on to vote411.org to know when your elections are coming up. Now, find out about who it is that's going to be running for your council people in your city, for your senators and House of Representatives, for sheriff. Find out those things. Look at your local news. Look on Ballotpedia once you know the names of those people, and study up on them. Realize if what they represent really represents what you want to see in government, okay? But as far as, electing Biden Harris, they have done so much to hold on to that stability that we had back before 2015, that stability of that school gymnasium, of where we could be individuals and we could still walk away at the end of the day with no one getting hurt physically, mentally, socially, economically because of a difference of who they are as individuals. We want to get back to that time. Biden Harris is that path forward because they currently are the only ones who are really, really talking about the issues that are happening in a real way, the issues that are happening with black people and brown people being executed, with us about to be on the risk of a global catastrophe because of climate change and corporations not taking that seriously. They are the only ones who are taking corporate greed seriously and who are not following the steps of the lobbyists, but following what the American people need. They're the only ones truly doing that right now with the amount of experience in policy, in the law, in the justice system. A policy, passing laws. I mean, Biden has been around for a very long time. So he's where the majority of Americans are on the social and ideological spectrum. Okay? Kamala Harris is where the majority of Americans are on the ideological and social spectrum. Doesn't want to see black, brown, LGBTQ people slaughtered in the middle of the street. Wants you to have your general, laws that come about around your taxes, around your retirement, around unemployment, around Social Security, around childcare, around education. That's pretty much where, they're pretty much where everyone is. Biden went out and stood in the picket lines with people. And there is no other Democratic candidate right now because, for example, Shank from the Young Turks, which I love, but Shank as president, running against Joe Biden, it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable. Right now, we have become so desensitized to propaganda that we don't know when it's happening. We don't know when someone is manipulating us because they're going to make a few bucks off of it, but not actually be able to follow through on what they say. Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, are you kidding me? Even Nikki Haley. Christie, no. No. Christie would be a good contender if there were some other normal Republicans within the fold. If the Republican Party wasn't broken and hadn't turned into a fascist, unempathetic, sort of protecting lobbyists and the NRA and, extreme evangelical Christians who are millionaires and billionaires who basically just want to get abortion out at all costs, even if it means, thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans are suffering. We don't have the Republican Party of McCain. We don't have the Republican Party of Mitt Romney. We don't even have the Republican Party of Mike Huckabee. Like his daughter is a bad egg. She is representative of that MAGA extremism. Mike Huckabee was probably down the lines, but he came of age as a politician in a time where there were still some scruples. There are no scruples. Like, there are no George H.W. Bushes. There are no Ronald Reagans. That's not that Republican Party. If Chris Christie was running against figures like that, figures like George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, John McCain, Ronald Reagan, okay, I mean, that'd be good. But the Republican Party is no longer that. You know, it's manifested into an ideological party that no longer wants to do its job, that no longer wants to pass law on, again, Social Security, education, tax policy, foreign trade, military. I know I'm sounding like a broken record. Education, childcare, but that's the thing that government is supposed to do. It's not supposed to be sitting here telling us whether or not we can get an abortion, whether or not we can say the word gay, whether or not we can say the word period, banning books. That's all distraction techniques, okay? It's all distraction techniques. The government needs to be doing its job, okay? It needs to be doing its job. It's supposed to be making the streets safer, okay? And that includes white collar and blue collar crime. And that is what Biden-Harris is doing. Biden-Harris is making the streets safer by actually speaking out against terrorists, foreign and domestic, speaking out against transphobia, homophobia, speaking out against this terrible element within the MAGA wing of America that just said, no, I'm not going to accept elections. I'm not going to accept the federal government. I'm not going to accept any of it because this person told me to do so. And I'm feeling like I'm in my tribalism, so I can't go against it. No. We need to get back to some sense of normalcy. So go to vote.gov, go to vote411.org, vote blue, vote Biden-Harris in 2024. The other thing that I want to point out is the war in Israel. You know, look at how Biden-Harris sort of really, they click into place like a well-oiled machine with empathy and compassion, with normal human emotions when these traumatic things, like what happened on the campus in the black neighborhood in Florida when the shooter took out some lives, when the recent school shootings have happened since 2021 when they took office, like when catastrophic climate change issues have happened, like when the war in Ukraine broke off, when the war in Israel broke off. Look at their responses. Look at their responses to the SAG-AFTRA union. Look at their responses that are so intuitive and compassionate, normal. When the American people say, I'm hurting, please help me, they help them. You know, it's not about protecting their real estate tycoon business. It's not about getting as many campaign monies as possible. It's not about denying the results of an election. It is just, I want to help the American people. When I hear Donald Trump talk, I don't hear very much about the American people. And when I do hear people like Tim Scott talk about the American people, it doesn't sound genuine. It sounds like a lobbyist using this person as a mouthpiece, you know. Chris Christie, you know, he falls off for me where his values just don't seem to resonate with what the majority of America wants. You know, he's trying to basically save face with the Republican Party while still trying to appeal to the average American voters, but he's not realizing, hey, if you're president, you've got to be the president of Democrats and Republicans. It's sort of like when you are a doctor. You're a doctor. Your job is to save lives. It doesn't matter if the person comes into your hospital, is on your stretcher, your hospital bed, whether they are Republican or Democratic. Your job is to save lives. You know, you think a doctor is going to sit there and say, so tell me, how do you feel about gun policy in the United States? Oh, you want guns taken out? Nope, can't perform this surgery. That's no. Politicians have to be nonpartisan. You know, politicians that hold the highest public office in the land have to be nonpartisan. Politicians in their governing, they can still hold on to their values, their individualism, but they have to pass policy and advocate and legislate policy for everyone in America, the safety of everyone in America. And Christie is not that person to me. There are just so many things that Biden Harris have done for the economy. And, again, the Republicans use Bidenomics as a quip towards him when Bidenomics is working. Unemployment is down. It's much further down than it was when Donald Trump was president. There are much less job vacancies. Donald Trump, put this big span about immigration policy and creating all of these jobs, but the white people, the Americans, even just general Americans, black people, white people, Latinos, white collar Latino, they didn't want to take the jobs that many of the immigrants were doing. So then you had all of these random job vacancies. And again, I've said it on this channel, whenever you make America's political, America's democracy a boys club where there is an in crowd and an out crowd, that generally does not cultivate the most, sane and healthy work environment. And so also just a lot of people, qualified people don't get the jobs that they deserve. So there's less job openings, so more people there's more butts and seats. There's more people in jobs. There's less unemployment. There is so inflation was really driven up by COVID and by the leftovers of Donald Trump. Since Donald Trump's administration, like Biden Harris, they've inherited a lot of really nasty, bad economic situations from Donald Trump's administration, because he was a TV show host and not on Capitol Hill every single day cranking out policy. He just doesn't know policy. And neither does people like Vivek Ramaswamy. It's like, no, just no. But, you also have to consider that Trump inherited a great economy from Barack Obama. Most of Barack Obama's criticism comes from a deeply tribal place. It comes from othering, But Barack Obama did a really good job. And you have to remember that politicians are not going to be perfect. Administrations are not going to be perfect. So if you think they're going to get in there and they're going to make America a perfect place, and you're going to be angry because the outcome is anything other than that, then you got something bad coming. You got to use those critical thinking skills. And you got to use those critical thinking skills to know that you win some, you lose some. But in general, politicians have to be like that, doctor. They have to create policy legislation and be the leader of a country for Democrats and Republicans. And even those people who are suffering from psychosis and mental health, who really aren't competent enough to make decisions for themselves or make decisions for voters or other voters or for themselves as a voter. Biden's numbers, jobs are up 13 million. So this is since January 20th, 2021 to January, February, March, April. This is probably, let's just say half of the year 2023, because I'm rounding up. But 13 million jobs, okay? Unemployment rate is down 4%, and this is an update. I'm giving some of the numbers that I know are updated since, and we're looking at this now here in November 2023, but unemployment rate is down. And you know what? Let me just see if I can find a more... Nope, they haven't published numbers as of Q3. But unemployment rate is down. I know that from keeping up with this. 4%. Because again, cultivating a fascist boys club kicks unemployment up. I mean, let them eat cake. Marie Antoinette, yeah, that was real. There was a reason the French Revolution happened. People don't like starving out in the middle of the streets, while rich people just are like, hey, culture wars. Don't look at my money bags, running away with their money bags. So there's more job openings. And I think that this right here is a social issue, because I think that, I watch many, and I'm speaking from my perspective here as an African American, but I know that disabled people, LGBTQ people, Asians, Hispanic, Latinx, um, indigenous people, all kinds of marginalized people I know are going to resonate with the fact that they will apply to the jobs. They will be overqualified for the jobs. They won't get the jobs because, again, Donald Trump cultivated a boys' club. Biden Harris in 2024. There's no other way. After that, from 2024 to 2028, Republican Party, do the most that you can, but this is going to take years and years and years to reform the rot that is stemmed up there. Just like it took years and years and years after Reconstruction to make the Democratic Party what it is today. Because, the Democratic Party used to be racist, but it's changed. You have to change with the ebb and flow of times while retaining democracy and not becoming an autocracy. It's a requisite. It involves critical thinking. If you are not mentally capable of doing that, it's that's a different ball game. So the economic growth rate is up 2.1% by 2022. I'm pretty sure that's up. The S&P 500 is up 7%. There's more unalivings. And I'm going to say, again, I feel like the Republican Party is turning the heat up so high on hate speech, where it's just commonplace. Things that, if they would have said that back in, let's throw out 2004 as an example. If I heard politicians back in 2004 say what politicians say today so brazenly, about hating different communities, hating Jewish communities, hating black communities, hating the LGBTQ communities, there would be uproar. But today it's become so commonplace that we've just sort of kind of turned off to it. But when that's become so commonplace, yes, unalivings happen more. It's dog whistles for those people in society who are suffering from mental illness, and they go out and they do terrible things. Biden Harris, tolerant people. We're going to need tolerant people in the White House, and people who are tolerant, who have policy experience. I keep hearing people go on and on about Biden's age. Like Democrats, if you are out here going against Biden Harris, you really want to see America become 1933, 1943 Germany, and you're going to get what you want. And Biden Harris, Joe Biden will be he's 3 years older than Donald Trump? How much is it? 2 years older? So he'll be still 2 years older than Donald Trump, and you're going to have your friggin' autocracy. You're going to be on the out plan. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt economically, fiscally, socially, and hopefully not, but maybe violently, physically. And Biden will still be his same age, and he'll still be healthier than Donald Trump, physically, mentally, and you're going to be partly responsible for driving us into this business. If I hear one more Democrat talk about Biden's age, talk about his policy, talk about his tolerance, talk about how he has helped repair this fucking economy that Donald Trump has left behind, this social rot of hate that Donald Trump has left behind, even when Donald Trump's pawns are still in Congress and they try to stop all the progress that Biden does. So Democrats talking about Biden's age and stop holding back progress. We've got to be one united front on this. Grow up, nobody is perfect. So just please grow up. So labor force participation is up 1.3 points. I'm pretty sure that is gone up since then. Consumer sentiment is down, but again, that right there goes right in line with the unalivings. That right there, to me, is right in there with MAGA. Every single step that Biden Harris takes, they try to dial it down on the other end because it gets them more podcast deals, because it gets them more, gold stars with their gun lobbyists, their cigarette lobbyists, There are evangelical lobbyists who don't want women to get abortions on a nationwide ban. Um, yeah, when you have propaganda just funneling that anger into you, that poison every day, yeah, consumer sentiments are going to go down. It's almost like you're standing in the way of this economy improving because of stupid social stuff. U.S. border apprehensions is up, like our relations, foreign relations are all very, very tense right now because we're not indivisible. We are very, very divisible. So it really doesn't surprise me that Mexico and America is having some issues. It doesn't surprise me that what MAGA sort of spits out into the world, this authoritarian hatred that they spit out to the world, America is on a world stage, is reverberating. Biden-Harris doesn't do that. Vote Biden-Harris in 2024 on all levels. Vote Democrat in 2024. The Republican Party, again, I am for a two-party system. The Republican Party is going to have to repair itself while Democrats work to sort of get this back up to a fully functioning democracy with the help of some sane Republicans. So home ownership is up 0.1% as of, spring 2023. Yeah, again, that boys club. People can't buy homes. They can barely get the jobs that they're overqualified for because the millionaire class is sucking the air out of the economy. And they're also trying to evade their taxes on a huge federal scale. So, yeah, blue in 2024. You want to get a home? You want to be able to send your kids to college? You want to be able to go to the hospital if you need to? You want to be able to retire comfortably? Yeah, you're going to need to vote blue in 2024 if you want to do that. If you're a millennial, you want to buy a house, you want to have health care, you want to be able to even just go buy a dress if you want to, buy a watch that you've been looking at, but, even if you're making six figures, you're living paycheck to paycheck, yeah, vote Biden-Harris in 2024. Let's see, home prices is up 23.4%. And ironically, somebody lied about their real estate property values by millions and millions of dollars. Ironically. And the real estate market is suffering. That is a really, really interesting coincidence. Corporate profits are up 36%. That right there doesn't surprise me. The question is why are average employees not making the amount of money that they need to cover their basis? Biden-Harris in 2024. The gas prices is up. So this right here, let me just take 2 seconds to talk about this because MAGA Republicans are often going on about inflation. Moderate Republicans understand that what we do in Congress reflects how inflation ebbs and flows. It ebbs and flows. And there's so many things that go into it. There's our allies, our imports and our exports. There's the fact of, can our Congress pass legislation? How on earth do you expect inflation to improve if Congress can't even pass legislation? The Republican Party that is in Congress can't do the basic demands of legislation. If you want to save American democracy, vote blue in 2024, Biden-Harris in 2024.